"7:39 morning. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne."
So, shall we take a look at today's newspaper front pages? The Sunday Times leads with a line from the climate czar, that's Alex Sharma, who says Rishi Sunak risks undermining Britain's position as a world leader if he does decide to abandon COP27.
The PM will launch a major offensive on crime, according to the Telegraph.
The Express lead is on the government-funded £250 million yacht that Boris Johnson hoped would signify Britain's global power. Well, it's now been axed by Rishi Sunak.
Well, let's see what editor of Spike magazine Tom Slater and anthropologist Marianne Hotter have picked for us this morning. Morning, you two, once again.
Morning.
Tom, let's start with Lettuce Liz hacked by Mad Vlad, should we? Which could only be a Daily Star headline.
It is. A gem of a story here. I should read the little nib on the front here because it's as fantastic as you'd imagine. It's the endive days. Wet Lettuce Liz Truss has had her phone hacked by Mad Vlad's Rusty spies. Exclaimed, "Is it just the tip of the iceberg?" So still.
Very good. They are lettuce crazy, aren't they?
We should say this is obviously a write-up of the Mail on Sundays. Big exposés we've been talking about a bit already this morning, with some quite shocking revelations about when Liz Truss was Foreign Secretary, her phone being hacked by, they're not sure who, but a lot of the signs seem to indicate Russia or potentially another kind of hostile foreign state. And so just the details of it are so shocking that, as you were saying earlier, Anne, that the phone is essentially locked in a safe because it's so compromised. About a year's worth of messages were downloaded, private conversations between...
Why don't they just take a hammer to it? Why don't they keep it in the safe? Why don't they just... chuck it in
Well, I don't know.
roll the car over it or something?
I presume the minute you activate it, it could send out more messages and all of those private messages, apparently, between herself and Kwasi Kwarteng about Boris Johnson.
Which it's interesting as well because, as the story points out, so much of, as with many businesses and institutions, government is also run on WhatsApp in large part these days. And it seems like even quite high-ranking members of government need to be told that you shouldn't really be doing that because
WhatsApp, which is owned by Facebook.
But which is encrypted end-to-end.
Well, it is, but there are a lot.
Clearly there are hackers.
But I think if you've hacked the phone, then maybe you get round the encryption of the message because actually you've got access to the device itself. But I think there's not a suggestion that Liz Truss did anything wrong in order to have her phone. Like, it wasn't that she was, breaching protocols or anything like that.
No, it was just her private phone.
And that she was terrified that it would totally derail and totally change the shape of the leadership contest if this came out. So that's why there was no press reporting allowed on it, which has just obviously been lifted, and that's why we're talking about it.
We've only just found out about it, but they've known it for quite some time, haven't they? During the summer.
At least they found out, I guess.
Quite how they found out, I don't know. How do you know if you thought, hello? You wonder how.
Oh, don't talk to it.
No,
absolutely. Keep it
honestly,
silent.
you do wonder, don't you? Let's have a look, Marianne, at the Times, should we? Look at the Home Secretary.
So speaking of people breaching protocols and security rules, Liz Truss didn't do anything wrong, but her phone was hacked. Sarah Braverman's done all the things wrong and obviously got her job back.
Well, she's done a couple of things wrong, as far as we know.
Well, sharing sensitive information with an MP and his wife randomly, accidentally CCing the wrong email address, which is how it came to light. Apparently saying Liz Truss was writing a statement describing, the situation and had described the Suella Braverman's actions as an honest mistake, and the ethics committee who reviewed government, so Liz Truss's own team, the Conservative Party, went, you can't really say that because it wasn't an honest, we don't believe it was an honest mistake.
It was
intentional. Intentional to send the email to people you shouldn't have sent.
I suppose it's a degree.
Yeah, you did it on purpose.
Careless or intentional or negligent. It was probably...
Well, why are you sharing information that you know is confidential, that shouldn't be shared with, random members of the public, effectively?
It was apparently accidental.
You're the Home Secretary.
Her mobile, her private phone rather than her office phone.
Why is she sending it to someone's wife?
I don't know.
I mean, whoever's phone, whatever email, she used her private email address. doesn't matter.
No, it's...
But there are degrees to this thing, I suppose. I thought it was
Not
interesting.
really. Not near the Home Secretary.
When it first happened, everyone was like, that can't be the reason she's resigned. Everyone was saying, this is a minor breach, this is obviously about politics, this is obviously about the comments she'd made and how that reflected badly on the government and whatever. Then as soon as it's over, that was like, oh, but she broke these rules, these cast iron rules, all the rest of it. It's difficult to kind of work out.
Two women had apparently had a 2-hour row just before, and you can imagine her coming steaming out of a row, getting hold of the mobile and actually picking up the wrong phone and sending it to the wrong person because she was so angry.
Well, this story is chapter number 17 of this fiasco. So she's apparently been accused of failing to act on legal advice from the government. Again, her own government. This isn't kind of, the opposition calling it out or anything like that. So 3 weeks ago, she was advised that people who are claiming asylum and are currently being held in a place called Manston in Kent, which I'm sure your viewers might be familiar with now, you've talked about it. So there's currently 2,600 people being kept there, including families, small children. It's only designed for 1,000 people, and the people there are supposed to be there for up to 24 hours before they then get sent on to more long-term accommodation while their claims are being processed. So far, people have been there for more than a month, and this is quite clearly illegal, and the advice that she was given was that there would likely be a judicial review. The people currently there will get asylum claim accepted, so they'll become officially refugees, as it were. And you could launch a class action against the government because it's currently illegal detention, which would cost us taxpayers millions of pounds.
Such a mess.
And so the thing is, whatever your attitude to the situation is, we can't have our government officials acting in such a way that makes us, likely to be sued for millions of pounds, let alone the human cost of keeping people in such terrible conditions illegally.
Well, I'll tell you what.
She ignored it. She hadn't done anything.
Well, after all of that, Tom,
ignored it.
you can imagine poor Mrs. Braverman could probably do with a large bottle of wine every night, calm her down, which is what apparently the Prime Minister had as her rider.
Yes.
I've never had a rider.
Had a rider,
To negotiate one next time it comes around. But yes, so this is Liz Truss's rider while she was Prime Minister. Some quite interesting specific things, a bottle of wine each night, as you were suggesting, but also had a favouring for double espressos, but would only like them served in a flat white sized cup for reasons that aren't altogether obvious. Maybe, easy to carry or something. And also just quite specific requests in relation to food, so no pre-made or plastic packed sandwiches. Everything had to be freshly made, and absolutely no mayonnaise on anything ever. Was the edict that went down. So this is all part of the biography or kind of political.
That's not the greatest diet for anyone in a stressful job, is it?
Sauvignon
Lots
Blanc.
of espressos in the morning, bottle of wine at night,
and sandwiches.
And sandwiches. And if no mayonnaise, then she's missing out on the greatest tastes there.
It does make you think what your rider would be if you were
Prime
Minister.
Nobody
You could be
else
as
got
exact.
riders.
Apparently so.
There you go.
Well, you can imagine anyone going into a high office like that, having a word with their private secretaries and saying, look, if you really want to take care of me, that's how to do it.
I'm going to demand riders now.
What are you going to have?
I don't know.
So rider, but you might need to explain to viewers what riders are.
So they were like terms and conditions.
Yes, Hollywood stars always had riders.
Oh, they do. Like,
you only have white M&Ms in a bowl and you need 4 puppies or something.
They used to do it on top of the pops when the big stars came on top of the pops, and they said my dressing room needs to be pink.
What?
You have to redecorate the whole dressing room.
No.
Well, that's
That was said about me when I I had to have a pink dressing room, which I did have, but I certainly hadn't asked for it, and that I always wanted my cups of coffee with a doily. A paper doily. As if I would be a paper doily.
I can imagine that.
There was clearly a bit of briefing against me to the press, and the idea that I insisted on my coffee on a doily.
Right.
But a rider is good fun. Yeah, you've made it when you are allowed to have a rider. So I think we should definitely think of one.
A dressing room would be nice.
A dressing room would be nice.
If I come in like this, I don't think.
A packet of crisps or something for breakfast would be fun.
You've had a McDonald's this morning.
I did. I had a cheesy thingy,
Actually,
which tastes of plastic.
What's not
But
to love?
it tastes of plastic, but I have to say it, 6 o'clock in the morning, it's wonderful. Manna from heaven.
Yeah. Let's finish off with biscuits, actually, which would be very... Oh, now, biscuits as a rider. That'd be nice. I like those plastic wafers. Those pink wafery things.
Oh, them.
Well, they're just called lady.
I think they're just called wafers.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to love them as a kid. Or anything with coconut in it.
I like coconut, yeah. Oh, this is a good one for anyone watching then. GBNews at gbnews.uk. You could have a rider. What would it be?
What would it be?
Oh, well, I thought you meant a good one, as in, please send us pink wafer biscuits.
Oh, no, they'll be please do. So what's the star saying about biscuits?
We're all familiar, we're all aware of the chaos on the railways because employees are striking. The engineers at Fox's biscuit factory are striking over pay deals. And so there's a risk that our festive biscuits won't be able to be delivered in the enormous quantities that we require them to be.
Oh, so
these are your
biscuits?
Yeah, these are those like lovely Christmas. Oh no, you're so worried, bless you. So it's really bad. Basically,
You've got like a jammy dodger in there.
yeah, the crunch, the ginger crunch. Foxes also make I think wagon wheels, Viscount biscuits.
Oh, a Viscount. Now, orange or mint.
Viscount biscuit.
Don't you have a Viscount biscuit?
Yeah, it's kind of like a digestive biscuit with the whole thing's covered in like a sweet minty cream, and then entirely encased, enrobed, if you will, chocolate.
Yes,
and then
that'd be-
foil, and then like that beautiful bright coloured foil that you might make the shapes up.
Mint Viscount, I think. For me,
I always
when
think
was a kid.
biscuits,
Orange
the
is
tins are lovely, but they're full of biscuits you'd never buy normally.
Yeah, sort of combinations of flavours you never would.
Well, that's Christmas though, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've got
it is
tins of
Christmas.
things that you're never going to eat. So basically, to do the deal with the engineers and give them a pay rise that would be in line with inflation rather than a real terms pay cut, it would cost 140 grand. And you go, oh, that's quite a lot of money. Except when you realise that Fox's Biscuits made £11 million in profit last year.
Oh, yeah.
So they can afford it.
I'm sorry, you've got social and corporate responsibility
Yeah.
for our biscuits.
Keep the biscuits
Pay
coming.
the engineers, keep
Pay
the biscuits coming.
Got to keep the biscuit there.
There you go. So GB News is on the side of
Biscuit
Foxes
eaters everywhere.
Biscuit eaters and biscuit engineers everywhere.
Those biscuits are lovely.
I believe we are all talking about Christmas as well.
Oh, we're getting there, aren't we?
we really-
Look, thanks you two. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on.